25 to 30 years ago, I went to a retreat. And coming back, one of the cars, basically, we went to a rest stop and it just gave out. And we couldn't start it again. And we were still several hours away from home. While we're praying for guidance, this thought came to my mind that there's somebody in the gas station and this person is at a pickup truck, and go talk to them. And he pops the hood open and he gets a metal car from his vehicle and he starts knocking around in something, and he said, "Try it now." And then the car started. And we said, "Okay, don't turn the car off until we get home." And then we got home and the guy pulled in the driveway and his car died and it didn't start for weeks.
Good evening, and welcome to Masterpiece Church. I'm your host, Ewan Gellion. Last time we began our series, Doubt, Not Just for Thomas, a series about questions and sitting with uncertainty, by looking at doubting Thomas himself and his relationship with his fellow disciples. Today, we continue this series by looking at miracles. What are they? Do we have to believe in them? How do we make sense of the wondrous things around us? And what about the miracles in the Bible? What do we do with them in our lives of faith? Today we'll be joined by Mark Chamberlain, Karen Packard, and Margaret Neiswander as we explore these questions. And so we begin today by asking, what is a miracle?
I would say it's something that you can't define. Something that happens, if it's happened in your life, it may be hard for someone else to understand your perspective of it. You considered it a miracle, but someone else may try to say something scientific or, it's a natural way of happening, but in your mind, you know it was a miracle.
So, I can't define what a miracle is.
A lot of people will see a miracle and they say, "But that's not a miracle. I don't believe it. There's no way that could be."
And some people don't believe them.
And I just have to say, well, that's okay. You can believe as you wish. There's no reason that you have to believe it's a miracle.
Okay, this is already getting complicated. Miracles sound like something inexplainable.
That's the key word I would use, inexplainable. And so, when we can explain what's going on, we don't call it a miracle.
Okay, got it. If we can explain it, then it's not a miracle. But if we can't explain it, then it is.
I think it depends on, again, what you mean by a miracle. So we have, in society, we have certain resources or technological developments that can do various things. I think some things are still miraculous. I mean, I'm maybe old enough that I still marvel almost every day that I can get on the internet and find all kinds of information that's really helpful. So, in my mind, I will think, wow, this is still so amazing. So that sense of amazement can be there, though I understand what's going on now. I probably wouldn't really call it a miracle, but in a certain way it does feel miraculous.
And I don't think that God would discriminate against using science to create a miracle.
So even things that are explainable can have a sense of awe and amazement. And even if they're not miracles, they also have a sense of the miraculous. Well, what about the miracles in the Bible? What do you make of them?
I was thinking about that. Moses had several. The parting of the Red Sea, I would say, was a miracle. I mean, according to the Bible, the way it happened. Turning the staff into a snake to show people that God is stronger than humans. Of course, Jesus turning water into wine at his first miracle.
Well, I'll say I have a lot of trouble with a lot of the so-called miracles of the Bible. Probably the biggest doozy to me is Joshua supposedly stopping the sun for some time. And as somebody with a math and physics background, I really bristle at that.
This miracle is found in Joshua chapter 10, verses 12 through 15. Joshua and the Israelites are at war and call upon God to help them. In the story, we hear about the sun standing still. Joshua spoke to the Lord in the presence of the Israelites. Sun, stand still at Gibeon, and moon at the Aijalon valley. The sun stood still, and the moon stood motionless, until a nation took revenge on its enemies. Isn't this written in the Jashar scroll? So the sun stood motionless in the middle of the sky. For a whole day it was in no hurry to go down. There hasn't been a day like it before or since when the Lord responded to a human voice. The Lord fought for Israel.
So, I've been in different places in my spiritual journey, and sometimes I've been quite comfortable with some of these things. I would say now I'm in a place where I don't feel uncomfortable with where I'm at spiritually, but I do have issue with a lot of these miracles, at least as they're described.
Are there any miracles you are more comfortable with?
What I'm most comfortable with would be some of the acts of healing that you see, especially in the New Testament.
Why is that?
I think we still don't understand the human body well. That's one thing. But two, I've experienced, I would call acts of healing in my own life, or I've read about things, credible accounts in the lives of other people. And I think there's something going on there that's certainly inexplicable, to get back to that word. How much one might say God is involved in that just because it's inexplicable doesn't necessarily mean that God is involved. But I'm willing to allow that now. And I think there are instances where something miraculous can happen in that way.
Well, that's very interesting. So there's space for us to believe different things about miracles. And even if there is some explanation as to how it happened, the majesty of an event that you might call a miracle is still there. Well, does it matter to our faith either way? Whether a miracle happened or it didn't? What if we could prove or disprove certain miracles?
Do we have to know everything? My husband loves me, okay? We have our moments, but he loves me. I know he does, and I know I love him. But can I put that on the table? No, it's for real. I know that Christ loves me. I know it, and that's all I can say. He's there. He's with me. And I can't put that on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to say that that's independent of whether some other miracle happened or not?
Yeah, it's loving and caring for a person is a miracle.
Oh,
I feel it is.
Yet that would not affect me. I've always, I think, in my life believe, but my faith has grown and changed and developed. And to me, it's not necessary to prove things. I believe what I believe, and I'm not going to argue with someone over what their belief is, because they may have some things to teach me, that I can be open-minded and see something that could possibly that I hadn't thought of before.
Well, at Grinnell, I had a professor who was really good at saying, "Prove it." And you'd say, "Well, I believe this. Prove it." And at the end of the year, I said, "I know that I know that I know, and I don't care." He says, "Good."
I think for me, if I found out tomorrow that Jesus had smuggled in a couple casks of wine, well, I wouldn't be impressed with John's gospel and in that sense, okay. But no, I mean, where I'm at in my spiritual life and so on, it's not dependent on these miracles having been true or validated. Now, I think having miracles, it can be a welcome comfort of God's presence with us as just an extra sign, but I like to believe God's presence is with me all the time, and I experience it in a daily way. I'm not looking for or dependent on some miraculous event to happen.
Miracles. They certainly can raise questions, doubts, and uncertainties. But they can also provide a wondrous sense of awe and amazement. They can help us root our faith while also not being necessary for us to have our faith. What do you think? What are miracles? What are these fully explainable yet totally inexplicable things in your lives? Examine these questions for yourself. Discuss them with your friends and family. And remember that your questions, yes, even your doubts, are the foundation for faith. Well, thanks for joining us tonight for Masterpiece Church. This is your host, Ewan Gellion. And until next time, join us as we continue our series, Doubt, Not Just for Thomas.